Today, I want to welcome Dan Richey, the president and CEO of Riverfront Packing, to the Howell Studios podcast, Stories Behind the Brand. How are you today?
Doing great, Zach. Good to be with you.
So, I wanted to hop into your story a little bit about Riverfront for people who don't know about you. Can you share some of the rich history you guys have there?
The original name of the company was Riverfront Groves, and that was the Knight family, which I married into. Packing plant was built in 1961. The family is in its fourth generation now, generational legacy in the industry. It started back in the early 1900s when John Knight came here and started with a very small tomato cattle operation and then ended up getting into citrus as it became more vibrant. His son, who was my father-in-law, entered into the packing business. They had a bunch of Grove, but he entered into the packing business wanting to get more vertically integrated, created Riverfront Groves, which today is Riverfront Packing Company. Back about 15 years ago, we spun the packing house out of the family asset into a separate LLC and sold half of that to a very large grapefruit grower, the Scott family. Ultimately, I'll fast forward. Ultimately, my father-in-law passed away and none of his children were very much interested in the business. I had a passion for it, as you mentioned. But it didn't matter. What my passion was, the family decided to sell the other half to the Scott family, which was a very wise move. They had the fruit. You need fruit to run a packing plant. The Scotts asked me to stay on, and I've been on ever since. I've been in the business since 1981 myself, and I've worked in all aspects of it, and really do have a sincere passion for the industry. I love it, love the people, love the product, and all aspects of the business are extremely exciting to me.
Do you have a preference over grapefruit or oranges?
Well, I look at it as grapefruit as being our lead item. Geographically, we are in the perfect place to grow grapefruit. We're right at the tropical line. We have a radio station in Vero Beach called WTTB, Where the Tropics Begin. And truly, there is a line here. This is right where the tropics begin. So we're subtropical. We're on the ocean. We have soil types that are very conducive to growing high quality grapefruit. It's respected and known throughout the world that Indian River grapefruit, which is the region we're in, is by far the best grapefruit in the world, bar none. So there is consumer demand and identification of that product as being the best in the world. It just so happens we're here. We're not geniuses. It's not because of us. It's just the fact that we live in the right area. I would relate it to Champagne grapes, Idaho potatoes, Vidalia onions. There's geographic areas and microclimates throughout the world that are just conducive to specific products. And this area is conducive to growing the best grapefruit in the world.
Growing up as a kid, if you want the best orange, you know it's coming from Florida. So that does make sense. So knowing a little bit about you, you grew up playing baseball. Can you share the story of how you transitioned from a potential baseball career to leading the family citrus business? Like, how did you miss playing baseball to come over to the farm part?
Well, that was definitely a part of my life coming up through high school. Variety of all-star teams and recognitions and all-state, et cetera, et cetera. So I got a call from a coach in the winter of '75. I was looking at going to Villanova or Seton Hall to play ball. I grew up in the Northeast, so that was kind of the hub. They were the two better sports baseball facilities at the time up there. Got a call from a man by the name of Hal Smeltzley, the coach at Florida Southern. Had really never even heard of Florida Southern. And he said, listen, I've seen some stuff on you. I'd like to invite you to come down here. At that point, I had never traveled 100 miles from my home. I came up in a little bit of a very humble family in our wherewithal. So I said, well, geez, I haven't even thought about it. And, I came down and basically Seton Hall, they were hitting, when I went on a visit there, they were hitting in a bubble in the winter with wiffle balls. I came down to Florida Southern and they were outside on the Detroit Tigers spring training facility. It was their home field at Florida Southern. So plus I saw that it was about 2-to-1 girls to guys at Florida Southern. So it was pretty simple decision for me. So I came down to Florida Southern to play baseball. Everybody that comes to Florida Southern at that level, it's a great baseball school, great tradition. and multiple national championships. We played on one in 1978 when I was there. So it was an easy decision to go there. Every kid that comes there probably in his own mind has a dream that he's going to be a major leaguer, like all of us do. And clearly that didn't work out for me. So I stayed in Lakeland for a year, taught physical education, knocking around to try to hook up with the team. Didn't happen. My wife, we got married, and my wife's family was over here in the citrus business, and he invited me to come over. And I said, hey, look, I don't know the difference between an orange and a grapefruit. I know the difference between a fastball and a curveball, but I don't know the difference between an orange and a grapefruit. But he said, I can teach you that. He says, I need somebody that's got a work ethic, attitude, and can do, and he's got hustle. And I said, well, I got those things. I learned those on both baseball and football fields. So I came over, and that was that was the evolution. I started out, from the bottom up, learned the business, all aspects of it, development of groves, grove caretaking, harvesting, ran a harvesting crew, ultimately bought the harvesting company, packing house and shipping, in the office, operationally. So sorry about that. Turn that off. That's where I've come 44 and a half years later. Here I am.
Yeah, and after hearing that story from you, it sounds like your work ethic took you into the industry, and that's what you kind of rest your hat on, and that kind of lends itself to the next question. Are there any key lessons you learned in your early days working in the pack house that you still carry on today?
Yeah, I mean, this business became very clear. I was of the mindset from having you go to school from kindergarten till you get out of college, and then I went into a teaching role. Now I had ultimate other jobs while teaching. I had to because it wasn't paying very well, but still, you're still thinking I'm Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. Life's good. I get 2 weeks off at Christmas. I get 2 weeks off at Easter, and I have the summer off. Took me a while to get into the mode of what this business is, but once I got into it and embraced it, it didn't seem like work anymore. At first it was, but hey, at first what do you mean I got to work on Saturday? But this business is a 7-day a week, 24-hour a day business. And once you get it in your blood and you have that passion for it, it's not even an issue. It's not even in your mind that I'm working. It's just what you do. It becomes a way of life and a culture more than a job.
Yeah, definitely. And I can relate to this story, for what we do. I never know what day of the week it is because I just come to work and I love what I do so much that every day kind of just blends into one another. And the people we meet all across the country, the people who are really successful and their business is thriving, they kind of have that same story where it all stems from passion and wanting to come in. And hearing your story, it's very similar to that. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that in you from the day I met you. You could feel it when you meet people. Pretty quickly, does this guy really like his job? Is it a job or is it a passion? We keep using that word, but it is the truth, and it's nice. And you know what? I think guys like us and gals like it on the same way. If you feel that, you create a bond pretty quick and a trust, and you just know that okay, this guy gets it or this gal gets it. And they understand it. I mean, we saw it. We saw the corporate farming try to come into Florida. We saw Ocean Spray, Del Monte, Dole, Chiquita. They all came in and put a corporate mentality into this that they weren't willing to put 24/7 in. And I will tell you this, Zach, they all left with a whole lot less money than when they got here.
So having that mindset and kind of taking over ownership of the company, what did you come in and do differently? Was there anything at all? I mean, it sounds like you had pretty good leadership in the beginning, but was there anything you came in and kind of, said, this is what we're going to do moving forward?
Yeah, we had to evaluate the landscape. The landscape was changing quickly with disease proliferation, hurricanes, the urban encroachment. We were losing groves. I could feel, like you said, if you get in this, if you live it, you get a feel for it, and you get intuition and instincts as to where are things going. And I love the Wayne Gretzky quote: "Why are you great?" Well, I'm great because I go where the puck is going, not where it is. And I had to take that mentality. Where is this industry going? And it was a very horizontal business with multiple packing houses and multiple growers. And you would deal with 30 or 40 growers, and then they had 30 or 40 different caretakers and 30 or 40 different harvesters. And it was disjointed. And food safety was on the forefront of the minds of FDA and traceability of product and all the things we deal with today. I saw that coming, and that was part of the reason we sold half the packing house to the Scott family, because they had way more fruit than we could even pack. And I had to move from a horizontal structure to a vertical structure so that now we controlled all of our fruit. We knew what was being put on the grove, what was being harvested. We knew how it was being packed, and we could go into the marketplace with confidence that we were meeting and checking all the boxes of what was coming down the pike, so we got a little bit ahead. Not having generational pride, I think, was something that, as a son-in-law, was an advantage for me, because a lot of the generational companies here that had families and sons and grandsons, I'm not going to say they thought it was their birthright to succeed, but they believed that they were here and that nothing was going to change. And even though things were changing, they were going to be able to stay the same. And it didn't work. Things changed and they didn't change. So I had the advantage of being an outsider coming in and not having that familiar or generational, or I got to do what grandpa did. And I was able to, I think, look at it differently, which definitely helped.
Yeah, and I think creating a successful company, it all starts with culture. And it sounds like you came in and just that was an important factor to you in changing that. And touring your facility and meeting you firsthand, I could tell how important people are to you and the business. I saw you in the pack house, like helping anyone who needed a hand. What do the people mean to you?
People mean everything to me. I mean, I would not be here where I am today. I don't mean to sound precocious, but I'm going into the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame tomorrow. I'm getting inducted into the Florida Citrus Hall of Fame. But that's not me. That's them. It's the people that helped me get here. I don't deserve it. I'm humbled by it. I'm honored by it. But this is something that goes to all the people. So the people know that. I mean, it's trite to say it's family, but it truly is. I mean, we do a lot of different things here to keep that culture what it is. Everything from helping people. I mean, we have a packer. Just yesterday, I dropped off some things at her church for the little kids that my grandkids aren't using anymore. I mean, that's my first thought. Who on our team can I help with this? And they help me. It's a two-way street, but that culture is key. I make an effort to know all of their names. There's 100 people working in that packing house. I make an effort to jump in and help wherever I can, because I think a leader has to lead by example. I mean, it's interesting, Zach. If I walk in the packing house, cleanliness is important to me in the packing house. When you got a food product, it's got to be clean. And if I see something on the floor, I'll make an effort to go pick it up. And I know people see me do that. I don't do it for that reason, because I believe it needs to be clean. But I'll notice that everybody starts looking around. Oh boy, I better, and they all feel that way. We did a program here called two things we did. We have, for payroll purposes, we have packer numbers that we put on the carton, and it's a number identifying that packer. That number goes back to that person, and it's piece rate with minimums, but it's piece rate. And that person gets paid based on how many pieces they pack, based on their number that they put on that carton. Well, I thought, I want them to autograph their carton. So we convert that number to their name when we put a print and apply on the carton. Each carton has a print and apply that has specific things on it that are necessary to ship it internationally or nationally. And we convert that number to their name. And I travel around the world where we ship our product, and I purposely take pictures of customers either in Japan or Europe or Korea, and I have that carton with that specific gal's name on it that packed that fruit. And I bring it back and I give her the picture. I say, here's your product in Tokyo. Look at that. It's amazing how, what you have done has traveled the world. It gives them a pride factor. When they have a pride factor and they feel they're part of the team and it's not just a job, you will get a better job out of them. That's not why I do it. I do it because I'm proud of them. They should be proud of their work. And I really do. I love the people here. And again, that's not just some trite example. I would do anything for them.
It's actually really cool to hear the box story where you're having them autograph it. And, we're in a lot of different businesses across the country, and, the owner, the CEO will talk about family. And then when we're there, you don't really feel it. But being at your facility, seeing you walk around, talk to people, you could really tell that was true. So that's really cool to see. I wanted to jump into something that popped up in your office, which was a picture of Jeb Bush, which I thought was awesome. He appointed you to the Florida Citrus Commission. How big of an honor was that to you?
That was extreme. I mean, Jeb, I was his first appointee when he got inaugurated. The next day, I was his first appointee. I had the opportunity to campaign with Jeb during his campaign multiple times. He is a friend still today, but we worked together on a couple things after that also. But it was a big honor. He then asked me to be the chairman of the commission, which I was. At that point, the industry was much larger. This was 1999 through 2004 or 5 that I served in that capacity. It's a state agency. It's under the executive branch, so it's it's pretty big opportunity and a pretty big deal. So I was again humbled by that, and I took it very seriously. And it was, like I said, we had over 60, 70, I think it was an $80 million budget where we did all the generic advertising. We had oversight on that. We spent some of the money on research, regulatory, and also the advertising that we did. So it was a big honor.
That's awesome. And seeing some of your pictures in your office where your son got to meet him. Did you ever get a chance to meet his brother, George?
I did briefly. Not like I know Jeb, but yes. At an event, and he's got quite the personality too. Jeb's pretty much an introvert. They're very, very different. George is an extrovert. Jeb is very much an introvert, but he knows how to overcome that for the politics part of it. But I would, you got politicians in the world and you got statesmen in the world, and Jeb was a statesman. He did the right thing for the right reason. I had the opportunity to take his wife Columba with me to Japan. They were christening a new vessel that brings Toyotas over and takes grapefruit back. And the folks at Toyota asked me if I could get her to come. And the president of Toyota, his wife and Jeb's wife, christened the ship together. So we have I don't talk to him all the time, but there's a good connection there that we have as friends.
That's awesome to hear. So I know you touched on this before, but over the years of running Riverfront, what challenges have you faced? I know the effects of the citrus cranker and the natural disasters play a large role in that. But what has been your biggest issue with farming?
Well, production levels. I mean, basically a packing house generates revenue based on volume. And so does a grove. I mean, if you have 500 boxes per acre versus 200 boxes per acre, your cost structure to grow it is the same. So you can do the economic study there pretty quick that you need volume. It's the same in the packing plant. So as volume declined, we saw that we were going to experience economic strife on both of the pockets that we had on our shirt. At the time, actually, we had 3. Harvesting is a volume game. Growing fruit is a volume game. And you have to have quality also on all of these items. And packing house is a volume game. So we went from 1.6 million cartons at our peak in this packing plant to this past year, we packed 360. So you can imagine what we had to do financially to do so. But also back to the people, we had a loyalty to people and we had built up some reserves over the years. So the challenges are being met where we're deploying our reserves to maintain our staff because we've replanted all the groves and we see the volume will come back and we need these people. If I were a corporate guy with a hacksaw, I would have cut a lot of people out of this to make the numbers work. So at 360,000 cartons, we lost money, but that's an investment to us. It's an investment in our people. They've been loyal to us for so many years when we had great years. We're not going to forget that. We're going to maintain them by utilizing reserves. We didn't spend it frugal. We were frugal with it. We didn't spend it and waste it. So we had those reserves for the rainy day that we knew was going to eventually come. So those are some of the things that we wrestled with. But to give you some perspective, at the peak, and I remember these numbers as chairman of the Citrus Commission, in 1999-2000, we had 60 million boxes of grapefruit in Florida. We had 2 million boxes ourselves here at Riverfront. Today, the state has 1.2 million. So we went from 60 million to 1.2 million. So that's all a result of generational change, valuable property that had other alternative uses and the generational third generation not wanting to stay in the business, monetized it by selling it. We had the disease proliferation you mentioned. We had urban encroachment. Florida has 1,000 people a day moving here. So obviously they want to be on the coast. They don't want to be in the interior for the most part. So you have an awful lot of what was once groves are now rooftops. So that caused a decline in our production levels. And again, obviously that caused a decline in volume, which, as I mentioned, is really the stream of revenue to maintain profitability.
Do you guys feel like you guys are heading in the right direction right now?
I do. I'm optimistic. I'm not Pollyanna, but I am optimistic. We've got about 2,000 acres that will be in the ground here. We got 1,500 in the ground, another 500 planned as soon as we can get trees to plant them. It takes a while to get them out of the nursery, but we have 2,000 acres, substantial investment to get that replanted. It was all existing older grove that was affected by greening disease that was due to come out. We accelerated that reduction of existing grove, even though it was going to be at the detriment to the packing plant because we didn't have that volume, so we could get ahead of the curve. So I think we're ahead of the curve compared to the rest of the industry in that regard. So we are optimistic. There are some therapies that we're coming up with now that we're using to combat greening disease and fairly effective. We've spent collectively the USDA, Florida Department of Agriculture, state of Florida, grower dollars. We've spent upwards of over $1 billion trying to find the answer to this greening disease over the last 14 years we've had it. And we're making progress. We don't have a silver bullet yet, but we're making progress. And we believe we didn't go into this and just replant all this grove with hope as our strategy. We did it with a strategy that we feel will be conducive to success.
That's good to hear that you guys are at least your mindset's, moving forward and heading in the right direction. I was curious, what role does innovation and technology play in modern citrus packing and distribution, if any?
Well, it starts growing. Innovation starts in growing. We're doing different things in the grove today that we've never done before. We're injecting bactericide through an IV into the tree to try to get at the bacteria. I mean, if you told me we were going to be doing that 15 years ago, I'd have said you're absolutely crazy. But that's what we're doing to maintain the health of these trees. We're putting down a mesh matting underneath where we plant the trees, so we utilize less water and less herbicide, trying to get a sustainable model that meets the criteria of what the expectation of the consumer is today. In the packing, and we're using drones. We're flying our groves, looking for those weaker trees. And if we can see them by drone, it's easier than by car. We mark them, GPS them, and pull them out and replant. So that type of technology is being utilized. We're utilizing electric eyes now. When we spray the groves, it used to be you turn your spray machine on, you'd go down the middle. If there was a missing tree, the sprayer just stayed on and sprayed the air. Now those electric eyes are the eyes that we have. Turn the sprayer off, turn it off and on. So we're using less chemical, less pesticides, which is, again, sustainable. In the packing plant, we're using electronic sizing, electronic grading. It's not, used to be the fruit would roll down a belt and the openings would get a little bigger as you went down. It would just drop out. Now we're using electronic sizing where the fruit is in a cup. It rolls through a camera box, takes 4 pictures of it simultaneously, and measures the diameter, the average of the 4 pictures diameter, and it goes to a certain drop where all the same size fruit goes to the same specific drop. We're using coolers a lot more. We're cooling the fruit down quicker. We realize that helps shelf space or helps shelf life. So we're doing as much technology as is reasonable. Our position here is we want to be on the cutting edge, not the bleeding edge. We've seen people invest a lot of money on things that were not really refined or tested, and it ended up being a waste of money. We did a little bit of that. We included a brix sensor, which is a sensor where you can tell the level of sugar and in your good sugar, fruit sugar, and it's called brix, BRIX. It's a measurement of that. It's used in all fruit. But there were certain markets in Japan and Korea that wanted a certain level. So we were able to divide that out and provide that to them and get a premium for the fruit by doing so. That didn't really work. So we spent a substantial amount of money on that, thinking that that's where the market trend was going. It was kind of a flash in the pan market trend that, we spent the money on, but that was not good. So we're not immune to doing a little bit of that too.
Yeah, and I think you learn from your mistakes, and that, that's, everyone does that. But you kind of hit on it a little bit. What initiatives do you have in place to ensure sustainability and environmental responsibility? And like I said, you kind of touched on that a little bit, but do you guys have certain systems in place?
Well, basically, a lot of the things I just said, reduction of water use, reduction of pesticide use, Also, we're doing regenerative farming where we utilize different type of a summer crop and a winter crop that we've never done, and the trees are in on the East Coast. They're built up on beds, and the trees are in two rows, kind of at the top peaks of the beds. For drainage and irrigation, we utilize that, primarily drainage today, because we used to flood the groves to irrigate them. Now we have, again, sustainable under tree micro sprinklers that we can control, and we can also fertigate, put fertilizer through those. So those are some things. The regenerative farming is something that was used for a long time, and kind of what's old is new. We have found that has been very helpful. It regenerates and it utilizes natural nitrogen, which is important to the tree for existence. It puts it into the soil. So we're doing that. We alternate our crops. We'll plant a crop, and that's not my expertise. I can't tell you what the crops are. Daniel Scott manages that very closely. He's brilliant. And we rotate those crops, a summer crop and a winter crop. And we have seen by soil samples and measurement that we're increasing the natural nitrogen without having to put it out in a synthetic nitrogen by way of fertilizer.
Yeah, and we're in a lot of different industries, so it's always interesting for me to ask what they're doing to be more sustainable. We're in a lot of print shops, so it might be the inks, but to hear your side and what you guys are doing, it sounds like you guys really are moving the needle to help keep the world greener. So that's cool to hear.
We understand that. I think farmers sometimes get a bad rap. I mean, I think we're truly, if not the best, arguably some of the best stewards of the land. I mean, we provide carbon extraction from the atmosphere. We produce place for wildlife to live. We water regeneration. Florida is very sensitive to water supply. We have an underground aquifer that runs through the state that's a source for a lot of drinking water. We recharge that by the way we keep our water on site. We do not go to tide with any of our water. It all stays collected in our own reservoirs and then reutilized. So we understand if anybody the last thing we want to do is the land to be destroyed. So we are very good stewards of the land, and we're proud of that. And we don't get the acknowledgement or the credit for that as farmers a lot of times. And we're not going to stand up and puff our chest and fight that, because we don't have to. We know what we're doing. We're comfortable in our skin with what we're doing. We know we're good stewards of the land, and we'll continue to be.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to end with reflecting on your career. What advice would you give the next generation of agricultural entrepreneurs?
Good question, Zach. I would say, kind of like what we talked about here earlier, find your passion, find what you love, work it till you can't work it anymore. And there's as I look back on my career, I probably was a little out of balance. And I acknowledge that today. I mean, I've got 3 children and 8 grandchildren. As I look back, I was out of balance a little bit. I mean, you got to find the balance, but I don't subscribe to this, work-life conversation that goes on a lot. I mean, just because I'm a different generation. I came up, like I said, from very humble beginnings and was driven by not having anything, not over the top wanting to have material things, just wanting to have things that would sustain my family. And that became a priority for me a lot of times, to make sure I was earning a living so that they could have a better life. And I probably got out of whack a little bit. I tried my best to stay in balance, but don't forego hard work. Don't come out of college expecting to have the corner office and a 10 to 3 job. Separate yourself. Be different. Get out there. Ask questions. Work hard. Go the extra mile. Do things that others aren't doing. Stay focused. And it's not hard if you love what you do. If you don't love what you do, but it's a job, hey, continue to do it. Work hard eventually, and then work towards what you do want to do. But don't sit here and say, woe is me. I don't have the job I want. Therefore, I'm going to be lazy. If you're going to work hard, attack it, and be proud of what you do.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice. And I think that, translates to any field you're in. Everything starts with hard work, determination, and a good mindset. And, a lot of stuff is teachable. So if you have those other skills, I think you're ahead of ahead of a lot of people. So like I said, all starts with hard work, like you said. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to chat with me. Congratulations on all your accomplishments. You're being inducted into the Citrus Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Yeah, like I'm humbled by it. It's not something I aspired to by any means. And I rejected it for 4 or 5 years, but they did an end run on me and stuck me in there. But no, it's a big honor. I'm not sure I belong in that fraternity when I look at the names of the icons that are in it, but I'm humbled by it and I'm honored.
That's awesome to hear. And for anyone that wants to like find your product or find you online, where can they do that?
You can reach me. Well, we have the Scott Citrus online. You can Google Scott Citrus, Florida. I'm sure it's probably unilateral there. That's our website. It's not a very refined website. But hey, I'm an open book. If anybody wants to reach out to me, my email is danr@riverfrontpacking.com. Happy to get any feedback.
Once again, thank you so much, Dan. I'm excited to see all the amazing things Riverfront Packing is going to do in the future. And thank you once again. Have a great day.
Thank you, Zach. Pleasure being with you.